good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Oxchair, on the show this evening. Is your Juicy, the one and only Linda, and the legend that is the Bridge. Evening, people.
Good evening, friends.
Evening, everyone. I hope you're all keeping well.
Now, can I say, Oxchair, can I say a big good evening to yourself and the techie boys in the background. Huge good evening to all the Rangers fans listening in all over the world. Good evening. Welcome to Rangers Radio.
You guys aren't welcome any longer, Linda. We'll go straight to the tune. Might be a better idea tonight, Bridget. How we doing, Juicy? How was the holiday?
Yes, the holiday. Very nice. Did lots of things. Good to see some friends. Watch a lot of sport, not just the football, but yes, relaxing. But nice to be back, regardless of the results.
Just for the record, we're all waiting on my fridge magnets. It's sort of tradition on Rangers Radio, isn't it, Linda?
Oh, definitely. Send it to us. I'll just leave them in the studio, Juicy.
Okay, I'm on it.
Yeah, tradition. It's a bit much for Bridge when he goes these mega cruises right enough. He needs a hamper just for the fridge magnet. How are you, Linda? Back on the solid yet?
Oh, not quite right yet, Ox.
I'm sick of these rusks.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Aye, that was a difficult one, Ox. Yep, absolutely. Difficult one to take.
Bridgeman, how's Mrs. Bridge?
She's fed up with me, of course. I've been mumping and groaning and sort of moping about the house. I'm sitting there this morning, started watching the Rangers game again. She went mad. She went mad. I just love it. I can't. I love the pain. Maybe I like the pain.
Well, perverse there, Linda.
We're saying nothing, Bridge.
I could think of better pain than that, Juicy, yeah?
Oh my goodness.
He's a good man.
Juicy boy?
Well, there's very different things, pain-wise, one could contemplate, but I don't know how many times I would want to rewatch such an affair, to be fair.
Okay, we'll get your thoughts on it. Well, ladies first. Linda.
Well, I think, like every Rangers fan, just felt absolutely gutted after the game, Ox. We've had some real highs and some real lows over the last, if you even think about it, the last 5 years, maybe since Gerrard, when he came in, and then we thought we were kind of on the up after that. And we've had lots of good times as well, particularly last season with the Europa League run, but that result and that performance on Sunday was one of the worst I've seen. And I don't know about you guys, but how it made me feel, it was like a punch in the stomach, and I know it's only a game of football, but some therapy would have maybe been quite helpful after it, Ox. But I think you guys have covered it on the show, and obviously Rangers fans themselves, and I still think that there is obviously a major rebuild needing done, and even if we'd won the game, we'd still be saying that, Ox. But we're a fashion Sakala sitter away from even getting a draw to see what would have happened. And I know it covers up, papers up cracks and things like that in the team, but if you're just trying to analyse a one-off game, we could easily have done a heck of a lot better on Sunday.
Aye. Talk me through your version of the goal we conceded, Juicy, and the one that we missed.
Inept is the word that comes to my mind.
Not a bad choice.
The other word that comes to my mind was a word that you said on a couple of occasions last night, and that was powder puff. When you have a forward line that just doesn't score across the three of them, and then you meet a team that is both good defensively and good going forward, you know that you're going to probably need more than one goal to start with. And automatically, already at that point, it's going to be difficult. So that's the forward line. So then when Sakala misses one like he does, you know he's got that in him because you know his composure's poor. We saw that in only the last Old Firm game. And then if you take the goal, well, it's ball watching and it's being unprepared. And the worst point about that is we've seen this before when we lost 4-0 at their place with the quick free kicks and the quick throw-ins. And you have to be ready for it. You have to, as you guys were saying last night, obviously play to the whistle. I mean, it's just football fundamentals, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not prepared for it, then when you're playing against teams that are good at attacking and counter-attacking and set plays, you're going to concede. And that doesn't even have to be against Celtic. We've seen that against so many teams this season where Rangers have conceded the first goal. And in the Old Firms, we've conceded it the first goal in the last 7. So it makes it so difficult, Ox, to get back into a game. And when it was going to be a tight one, and we knew that we're closer to them in terms of the overall quality of the play, that's for sure. Beale has improved that. But when the forward line doesn't score, Ox, you're in trouble.
And that, Bridge, does that cover it for you?
Oh, covers a big chunk of it, but everything Juicy said there is absolutely right. If you don't score goals, you're not going to win a game. And if you continuously don't score goals, excuse me, and don't take your chances, and you end up carrying basically 2 people, maybe 3. That's what was happening to us at the weekend there. We were carrying 2 or 3 people, and that's for sure. And you can't do that. That level of football, you can't do that. You exhaust everybody because you're exhausted with it. And it's just too much. And why, there's a silly giveaway by Kent, and that starts about extra mass going on. And all of a sudden, there's a free kick. And you don't know what's going on, a free kick. And we're not ready for it. They put the ball down and play it. They sort of lull us into a false sense of security, take a quick free kick, and then there's another few tackles flying in, and before you know it, everybody stops. What did they stop for? Well, they think Raskin has given a foul away. No, they didn't. The fastest man in the park ran in, took the ball off them, and put it across. And possibly the worst culprit in our team for falling asleep or not, or ball watching, call it what you like, is Mr. Tavernier at his back post. And he did it again. By the way, they're not taking any blame away for any of the other players who were in between, because overall there was probably 8 Rangers players within a 20-yard radius of that ball. My goodness gracious, they actually suckered us into it. I don't understand why we let people take a quick free kick. I don't understand it.
Well, how would you stop that, Linda? What would you do if you were telling your team you wanted to slow down? If you notice what they do, what do they do?
They stand in front of the ball.
Oh, Linda, well spotted. Yeah,
Like,
Michael Beale and all his coaching staff. It ain't that difficult.
The ball was still in play, so there wasn't even any excuse at all.
No, before when the ball broke, before it got down there, where Raskin and that was, when Kent let the runner go within the free kick about 40 yards to goal. That's what we're talking about.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And even a booking is fine. Even if you had to take a booking for disrupting play, it's worth it at that point. You have to slow it down.
Mm-hmm. So it's just it's people call it the dark arts, gamesmanship. You go in front of the ball, you turn your back the other way, you talk to people as if you're organising, and then you get your shape, then you let the free kick. It's not a new thing, Bridge, is it?
No. Certainly, ever since I played football, was a wee kid, you could do that. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't let them take that quick free kick.
And I accept Tav, I thought, had a good game. He's culpable for the goal, along with other players. There's so many mistakes, Linda. It's unbelievable. For the ball getting away further up the park, not going with your runners. Raskin stopped him. Bonner switched off and let the guy run behind him. Even Lundstrom, and then the cross comes in, and Tav switched off. So we lost the goal. We got 1-0 down at half time, and you've got to say we did respond well. We came out in the second half and we played some decent stuff, but once we missed that chance, and then with James's header and all, which I think he could have done better, you just knew it wasn't going to be up there, and the game just petered out, didn't it?
Yeah.
They broke the sub-zone, we broke our sub-zone, we lost momentum, and the last 10 minutes was a non-event. Linda, then Juicy.
Yeah, I agree, Ox. You know, we did come out with a bit of purpose, and you know, you could see that, you know, that they were putting the effort in. There's no doubt about that. The chance that Sakala missed is an absolute sucker punch to the whole team. We're trying, you know, the chances were few and far between for both teams in the game. You know, that is a glaring chance. I seriously don't think that they missed that if that falls to their forwards. I know you don't know in these situations, but I would say 99%, you know, that's tucked away. And I think when you look at the players all around, you know, when Sakala misses that, they're devastated because they know that they're not going to get probably a better chance to score. So, you know, and if you do put that away, Ox, your tails are up and you're on the ascendancy. And you just felt, look, get an equaliser and let's see what happens. I think that just knocked the stuffing out of us. I know there was another one that was Matondo did well. He cut it back to Arfield. It's on Arfield's left side and he's leaning back and he puts it over the bar. The header from Tav, he's too close to the goal to head it downwards, isn't he, Ox? That's maybe
ultimately never hit the target, Linda.
No, he needs to just power that right at goal. But you know, again, Ox, and for all his defensive frailties, we're still relying on James Tavernier to drive us on to get his goals up front. That can't continue, Ox. I mean, he can't be responsible all the time for either scoring goals or being on the end of chances. That simply can't happen for us going forward, and it won't.
Aye, I think it was mentioned by Ali in the commentary that your problem lies in there, Juicy, when you're right back's your most important threat.
Massive issue. We're all really pleased on how well James Tavernier has done for us in terms of his attacking prowess. We know he's not the best defender, and a lot of attacking right backs are like that in world football. Not just him, but in a lot of other clubs, the right back, even if they're a talented attacking right back, is not the top scorer at the club for multiple seasons. So as good as that is in terms of the achievement individually, it's really poor from a club that's trying to win trophies in its domestic setup, because you're going to need a lot more than that. And the fact that our forward line has scored so few with so few assists, then the right back's never going to make that up, even for the amount of effort and goals he puts in.
No, I think we had a start last week. It was 101 games and we've scored about 30 odd goals between our front three. You know,
quite pathetic, isn't it?
You know, it's and then you had on the weekend there. Bridge, put your finger on it.
Well, you're mentioning Tavernier, one of our best players, and probably had a fine game against Celtic there, apart from that one mistake, that big mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other parts to his game. He doesn't take a good throw in. He seems to stop the game when there's a throw in and to Tav. I'm looking for the pace. Get in there, take a throw in. And he doesn't take a very good throw in, to be honest. Now there's the other boy on the other side, Borna. So I think we need to start. I don't know how to say it, maybe no start, but we need to start thinking, how do we take throw-ins and when do we take them? We don't take them 5 minutes after we've got the ball in our hands. We take them when we get the ball in our hands.
Are you telling me you don't let the other team get set up defensively?
Correct.
Oh, right, okay. Right. Okay, we're coming back to this rookie manager again, Linda.
Is that what we're calling him? Yeah, we think he is. I mean, you can't argue with that. I mean,
he's only managed for 40 odd games,
yeah.
And he's got the Rangers job. the luckiest guy in the world, considering he's not a football icon like Souness and Gerrard was.
Yeah, he doesn't have that background. And
No.
I've heard the argument that
No, I'm saying we should get rid of Michael Beale. I'm just saying that he's learning on the job, Linda.
Yeah. And it's a tough job to learn on, you know. And I
wondered where you were going with that one, but I'll leave you with it.
So I don't know. I mean, I know there's the chat that when you know, he's not new to tactics and how teams set up, you know, because he's obviously got a lot of experience in that regard. And when Gerrard was here, everybody says that he was the one that probably dictated how the team played. But that there wasn't hundreds of success during that time as well, Ox, I suppose.
No.
So you've got to take that into consideration.
The tactics were great against St Mirren, St Johnstone in the cups, weren't they? In the 55 season, weren't they?
No, and that still rankles with us. We should have had a treble that year. That was diabolical. I don't know. I think you're right, Ox. He is learning, and he'll get the summer. It doesn't matter really what happens in the next 5 games. You know, I know it is still important that he goes out and tries to win those 5 games. But he will get the summer to bring his own players in. I still have an element of confidence in him, Ox, that he'll get that part of it right. But as you've always said, any signing's a risk. You know, you're never guaranteed success. But the quality of the player that we bring in has got to be so much better than what is going out.
Yes. Or similar quality of the guy getting out at his peak, if that makes sense, Jussie, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. We need something that's better than what's going out in this case. Linda's correct. And you know that they'll do business as well on the other side of the city. And, you know, what we need is firepower, Ox. We've spoken before about the players who we expect to go, and Old Bear's dossier, which I keep bringing up. But, you know, we know we need a goalkeeper. We know there's a few other positions, but the forward line, above all else, really, is what we need. We're definitely close to them in terms of the individual matches. You know, 1 goal in it, tighter matches, the general play and pressing on them is better. Cutting out their centre-backs' balls to McGregor was causing them problems in terms of their distribution. So there's definitely improvement there on the tactics, which is actually really good because it makes it a tighter match. It makes it an even affair. But if you don't have the forward players, you're still going to be lacking. And that's what we need, Ox. We need some quality. We don't necessarily have to spend millions, but we've got to be shrewd, like we have been in the past.
Yeah, some news breaking for the club earlier on the day. I'll come back to you just with Craig Mulholland leaving the club, the academy director. And let's be honest, Linda, we had a rise a couple of years ago. You know, the boys won the cup in the Middle East, but ultimately nobody's really challenged the first team. And Billy Gilmore was pre, when he was pre. You have to go back before we'd all this investment and trying to see what it takes as we try to develop youth, which we've never been successful with, if we're really honest about it. But so things are moving at the club. There must have somebody's looking at all aspects, and things seem to be moving quite rapidly. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Only ultimately going forward, results will tell us that, Linda.
Yeah, I agree, Ox. You know, it will be borne out by results. I mean, there's been really kind of a mixed results in terms of the academy this year as well. There's been some difficult moments for them too, all throughout the unders. I mean, I know they've had some good stuff as well, but they've you know, there's been some poor results. too. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you have to look at everything afresh, and you just wonder how long these changes have been mooted for. You know, it could have even been from before, you know, the break there at Christmas, when Gio left as well. You know, they started to look at everything afresh then. So, as you say, changes afoot. And I don't think John Bennett's the sort of guy as well that will mess about. And you know, let's hope that this is going to be positive for us going forward. I would suspect as well, I mean, I might be wrong, but you might start to see or hear about changes in the medical department, because that seriously can't continue, Ox. And I know there's a lot of misfortune around that, but that'll be another area that they'll be looking at. And there's nothing wrong with critiquing everything, Ox, is there?
If you're honest, Bridgman should be done on a regular basis, even if you're being successful.
Every week, for me, every week. Should be critiquing. We're trying to achieve something, particularly and obviously in Scotland, but we haven't been, we've not been at our best for 2 seasons, other than the odd game. And I'm afraid to say, by the look at it, a lot of those players on Sunday were still not at our best, and by the way, we're nowhere near being close to our best. And I'm afraid, as I say, that there's three players you can take out of that team tomorrow. You could stick reserve players in it, and it won't make it better. It would make it better. You would get more out of the players.
I think that's also the problem. We don't seem to have anything in between, Juicy. Nothing's coming through.
No, and that's got to be part of the reason why that gentleman has now left our club box. You know, the new chairman's directors, these guys have got to look at these kind of things and think, well, where's the progression? Where's the success coming from? And if you don't see that, you've got to start moving people along. We know that we've got some quality in the youth team and B team setups, but are they cutting the mustard to the extent of getting in the first team? I suppose we have a chance to see some of that now, because in these last 5 matches, you've got to start playing some of these guys and just give them an opportunity. I mean, what does it matter? We don't lose anything. You know, okay, there's one Old Firm game left, but if we see Morelos and Kent in that match, some people are going to lose their minds. So I don't know what else you would want to do in these games, Ox, but give some of these youngsters an opportunity playing for big crowds. I'm not saying in the Old Firm per se, but Morelos and Kent are dead jerseys. And the only reason Morelos played at the weekend was because we didn't actually have another recognised striker, unless we played Tillman in the number 9, which is what a lot of us thought was going to be the case. But you'd rather have someone play there than someone who's just a dead jersey. But we've got 5 matches, 4 of which are definite opportunities to play some guys and just give them an opportunity in front of a big crowd.
I don't know. I think they'll get minutes, but I don't know if some of them will start. Maybe a couple might be lucky to get a start, Linda. Yeah, because if things go Pete Tong, when Michael Beale's, he's a lot of things, but he ain't silly.
Yeah, you're probably right. Give them minutes, but I suspect that it will be the players that have been...
Unless he thinks they're good enough and ready, Linda.
Yeah, maybe, maybe, when you think about the boy Zach Lovelace, he's the one that kind of stands out just now because he's a recognised striker. We don't have Cholak, don't know when is he due back.
Have you watched him, Linda?
Zach Lovelace?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I seen him in the Youth Cup the semi-final. I thought, I don't know why you wouldn't give him a chance, Ox.
Do you think he's ready to play in our first team?
In games like this, yes. No the Old Firm game, but I wouldn't be adverse to seeing him definitely coming off the bench to get a bit of time. It's worth a shot. We don't have anybody else, Ox. I mean,
you're right with that. You're right with that point of view. Right, the better these phone lines opened up.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's hear from these.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Aye, I think it's a difficult one with the youth bridge, isn't it? Because you want to throw them in the sort of sink or swim mentality, but if you don't get it right, you can lose a good gene who's you put them in too early. It's a real tricky development. You know, if I'm being honest, there's a skill in it, but there's a lot of luck in it as well.
Yeah, the youngsters are youngsters, so what you don't want to do is flood them. You don't want to throw them in there against the most experienced teams and just leave them. You've got to have a plan to put them in and say, right, 2 men, cover him, make sure he's all right, and let him get a 20-minute spell in the game to get his feet. You don't want to put them on and leave them. You got him centre forward, son, and we'll just boot the ball up there and you go and fight for it. No, that's not the way to play football. Although that's the way we were playing football on Sunday, just booting the ball up the park sometimes. But and nobody actually fighting for the ball. So we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to play a game of football. And any youth players that we've got, I don't know. I really don't know which youth players we would actually bring in to get a game. And you said a bit earlier, you might be just stuck with Morelos to the end of the season, and that's all there is to it in Kent. So they might have to play them. We don't know. They might have to.
It's only my view, and we'll open up to callers, Juicy, but I think the manager would get, people would turn on the manager if they turn up at Ibrox on Sunday and Morelos and Kent start, mate. People, there's a straw at Bricks, Camel's back. We've enjoyed them. They've not kicked a ball for us for 2 years, if we're honest. You know, you only have to look at the goals they've scored. And when people don't think you're getting through the motions, things are going to get toxic, Juicy.
Yeah. And with Tillman being out injured now, that goes the last first team position where you think there's a chance of him replacing Morelos in the number 9 spot. Obviously, there's other options there on the left. I would imagine he'll probably start Matondo, so I don't think there's any fear of Kent starting, but Alfredo, unless he brings Robbie Ewer in, who has played for the first team before. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that, to be fair, because there could well be a lynching otherwise, as you suggested.
I've got myself in some mess, Linda.
Oh, honestly, you could write a book. I don't know how we landed in this position, Ox. You know, it's quite unbelievable. You know, there's lots of reasons for it. I do understand that's another 5 shows probably, but it really is quite horrendous, the situation that we're in. In terms of picking players going forward, I would suspect he'll probably give maybe more minutes to the guys that have been on the bench, maybe like your Hadjis, your Matondo, the boy Yilmaz as well. We've hardly seen any of them. And if they are going to be at the club next year, then let's kind of get a wee bit more of a look at them. Going back to your point about the youth players, Ox, it would be more ideally you would want to sort of bleed them in when the team's actually playing well, if that makes sense. You know, give them a chance. If we're, you know, for example, if we had the league sewn up and we've got 3 or 4 games to go and everything's going well, you would want to give them a chance. But I take your point about throwing them in when the team aren't playing well and as a whole, Ox. You know, relying on youngsters to try and give us a bit of a lift. It's a sorry state of affairs, to be honest.
Aye, and obviously, if we're looking at everything, Juicy, and then Briskin off, and injuries have played a part as well, haven't they?
Well, absolutely. Look at the boy that Sunday, Tillman. That's probably him out to the end of the season. Great chance. He might. God knows. I don't know how bad it is, but the probability is we're not going to see him playing to the end of the season. So that's the guy we thought. A lot of us thought anyway he could actually move into a number 9 role or the centre forward role, and let's go and do it. He's not going to be there for. I don't think he's going to be there for a few weeks anyway. You guys might know better. So you start looking around and the boxes are getting ticked. We can't play him, and we don't want to play him, and you know there could be a rebellion if you play A2. That kind of thing. That's going to start. That's going to go on. The fans are, shall we say, at their wits' end. I listened to the show last night, and some of the boys, Big South Side, they're what they're saying is absolutely spot on, and it's what we're talking about now. So we just don't know where we're going to go, but at the same time, we have to be honest and realistic, because we've got maybe 5 games to go, and one of them's an Old Firm game, and Sunday we'll get a big game against Aberdeen at Ibrox. So we don't want to be getting losing these games, particularly at Ibrox. We need to win. We need to win, because that's what we are. We're Rangers. We are the people. We need to go and win. How we're going to do it, I'm blessed if I know. I just don't know, because I'm so fed up looking at Morelos no bothering, what it seems to be no bothering, and Kent the same, no bothering, and it's no right. It's no right. But I don't know what to do about it.
Juicy.
You're right, Ox. Injuries have played a part, because where were the forward line options? Cholak out, Lawrence as a number 10 out, Hadji out for most of the season. Lawrence, Hadji both being number 10s, of course. Matondo being out for a long time. It doesn't give you the options. And I know that Beale is a fanboy of Kent and Morelos, but surely, if he had the options of those other attacking players, he would have changed it up for that match based on the form of those two. I accept that, particularly with the striker position, there wasn't really anything else to go with, so he was kind of forced into that with Morelos. But Kent, I mean, I'd have started Fashion on the left, I'd have started Matondo on the left. But there's two who should have been playing in front of him for a start.
Smurf, you're going to have to turn the show off, mate.
I've not got it on. I've got a pair of earphones in.
We can hear it through you.
It's probably those big DJ
dear.
ones, Ox.
Oh dear.
What are you listening to on the earphones?
He's got a set of industrial headphones on and he can't hear his own radio. Smurf, come back in. Just turn it off. It's not hot. Oh dear, you've got to laugh, right? Obviously, he picked Kent and Morelos on form, Linda. You know, but the form's 2 years ago.
Oh, that's a good one, Ox. That's cheered me up. Aye. But when Michael Beale came in, he talked up the players, didn't he? He had to. It was 24, 25 games ago. He came in, and there's no way he could have come out and said anything other than positives, because he had to give people a chance, and he knew what he was going to be working with. But you can just tell without him coming out and saying it that he knows. For example, somebody like Glenn Kamara, Ox, he talked up Glenn Kamara when he came in, because he says he wanted to see the Glenn Kamara that he knew. And then he gave Glenn Kamara a chance, maybe 2-3 games. We've not seen anything. He's on the bench and he never gets on. So there's a classic example of giving somebody a chance, but very quickly he witnessed what we've been witnessing for the last 18 months with Glenn Kamara.
But he's not alone, is he?
No.
You know, he's not alone. You know, there's a... anyway, hopefully Smurf's back with his now. You're right there, Smurf?
I am now. I've got these new earpod things, and fuck knows what's going on. I'm sorry for swearing.
Oops, I never heard that. You've moved into the 21st century and it's not working for you. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's definitely not. No. So there we go.
Your sound's perfect now.
So essentially,
you sound better than I've ever heard you, Smurf. That's the best I've ever heard you.
That's because I've left the army. Right, so I remember when
Northcliffe Bridge got a dishonorary discharge.
Must have been a good man. Must have been a good man. You're the best one.
I was very good, Smurf. I was very...
So, I don't know if you remember when Stevie G was there, and he used to have a saying about, you know, he's wanting all these improvements at Murray Park, the facilities, and he always had this saying that was to take away the excuses for the players, take away all the excuses. Well, I want the board to really step up and back their manager to take away his excuses. He is a rookie. And the longer I've been thinking about this, I don't want to no support him, and it's no the right to sack him's no the right thing. I think we need continuity, but I don't think it's the right appointment. And I just want, I want it to come good. I want to turn things around.
Also, he's an intelligent, articulate man. He comes across as an honest guy, maybe too honest for his own good sometimes, Smurf.
He's just naive. Again, his press conferences are naive. His team plays like a youth team. The mistakes he make. And I think his background is shown up in competitive first team games. And it's no just, you can say, well, we beat everybody else. The majority of the league is dross. And you get maybe a Hibs or a Hearts or an Aberdeen, they have peaks and troughs. Any of these sides that are showing anything, if they get any form, we've struggled. That boy Robson's turned them around, put a bit of fire in their belly, galvanised them. We got there and we get gubbed 2-0. So it's not just the Mankey mob. It's anything that could potentially lay a glove on us traditionally. That's put got their stuff together. Has laid a glove on us. So I want the board to step up, fund, because I believe in his recruitment. He knows a player. Fund him, take away all his excuses. But that was
how do you know he knows a player, mate?
Well, I think when you look at, he brought in Cantwell, he's brought in, these are guys that were already established. And the young boy Raskin, I believe it was him that identified him when we played them. And then I think it was, from what I read, it was him that identified Kamara as well. So Kamara's a good football player, obviously just doesn't want to be there. And one last wee point was that Mulholland, I read 2 or 3 weeks ago, or within days actually, the director of football leaving, going to Nottingham Forest, that he might, because apparently him and Mulholland are very good pals, he might be following him out the door going to Nottingham Forest. So I don't know if he's actually went down there, but it's interesting to see if he did go there.
Only time will tell. And my philosophy is simple. If you don't want to be at our club, get him out the door, yeah. And that goes for
totally. That goes for everybody, aye.
All levels. Right, okay. Look, I don't want to put any pressure on Cantwell and Raskin. At the moment, they look reasonably positive signings, Juicy, but we can't really judge them yet. They look, their start's been okay, thrown in with some bad results, but they've started reasonably well, the two of them.
Yeah, generally speaking, they've done pretty well. Of course, Raskin was one of the players at fault for the goal at the weekend, but it doesn't change his overall performances for us across the piece have been really good. So yeah, Smurf's correct. From what we've seen of the two that Bill's brought in, under his management, I've been quite pleased. He's going to get the summer to see what he can do. We know there's going to be a lot of players going, so the finances will be there. The wages that Kent and Morelos were on for a start is going to be freeing up a lot of potential to bring other players in. That alone. Not least because we might have up to a dozen players go. There's going to be the funds, but he's already under the most severe of kind of warnings, if you like, based on his results in the old firms. Because I know the last one is a bit of a dead rubber in terms of the general points situation, but fans will not demand that we actually turn up and put in a performance still, obviously. So he's got that match, and he's got the first old firm next season. And if he doesn't win that, it's going to be under massive, massive pressure, regardless of what he's done in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Going to be interesting, Linda. They take Smurf's points, and then Bridge can come in and comment. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I think, what we're saying there about, careful management of the whole situation in terms of players going out maybe to fund some deals. And it's probably going to be a mixture of maybe some Bosmans. You wouldn't even be able to hazard a guess, Ox, as to how much money is going to be on the table. I know Smurf's saying about the board have to back Beale, and, I totally agree with Smurf. But, you wonder how much... Setting aside any money that would come in for any players that we could actually manage to offload, and that would depend if anybody wants to sign them, of course. You just wonder how much the board are going to be able to put up, because we're not awash with cash, aren't we? Not,
Well, we're going to be losing a lot of big hitters after wage bill, aren't we?
Yeah.
Kent, Morelos, Hollander, Ryan Jack. Scotty Arfield, Stephen Davis.
Yeah. So it's going and finding people that perhaps are, if you're going for Bosmans, it's good quality players. You are going to be able to offer them, decent enough wages. But the wage bill itself was too high anyway, Ox. We can't get ourselves into that sort of situation again. So it's going to require careful management. We don't have this director of sport just now. Or director of football rather, but Michael Beale's already said that he's happy to be very heavily involved in that. Obviously he won't be negotiating wages. Somebody else is going to have to do that. I don't know if he can pick up how good he is at picking up players, and has he got an eye for a player, because it's too soon to judge that. But Smurf's right, he seems to have done all right with Raskin and Cantwell. They're good examples. It's all we've got to judge him on just now, Ox.
Rich?
Yeah, I have to say what Linda's saying is absolutely spot on. It's really difficult to judge anybody given the last few games we've played. People you would I'd like to think that Cantwell and Raskin are going to be stars for us. I would like to have thought Tillman was going to be a star for us. Unfortunately, it's not happened. I don't know where they're going to find the players that we need to be able to replace, because it's very difficult. We've used Kent as a talisman for the last 3 seasons, and for a season and a half of that, maybe the last season of this season, he's not turned up at all.
6 goals in 2 seasons.
I'm saying that it's just not right, in anybody's language, it's not right. You've seen a guy who took us to Seville. Just fabulous, great play from him. Very, 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 very good player. Great endeavour. Now he's a shadow of the man he was.
Hello.
We'll cut across your bridge. We've been joined by Stuart. Evening, Stuart.
Hi guys, how you doing?
All right, mate. What's on your mind, mate?
I hear all the talk about Michael Beale. As everybody says, he's a likeable guy. I think he's a bit naive as far as I can see. If you look at the cup final, he stuck with a group of guys, and what he said after it was he didn't want to throw anybody under the bus. But it's all right saying that, and he's friendly with them, but he's going to end up under the bus if he doesn't watch what he's doing. You go into the semi-final, pretty much in the same kind of position. It just kind of lacks something. On a positive, I'm going to go through a couple of positives about it. What I like about the positive...
Give me these. I'm listening for these, mate. I'm looking forward to these. On the up, Stuart.
No, it's really just one. I was going to say his hair gel. It must be the same hair gel as Scott White uses, because it's never out of place. The wind could blow it and it never moves. You know what I mean? I suppose that's a bit of a positive as far as that goes. Put it this way, the Celtic manager could have been doing with some anyway. His was all the shot, but never mind. I suppose that's a positive. Anyway, what I like about him is, as you say, he's a good communicator. And I like the fact that he sits in front of players. He says he wants to sit in front of players, look into their eyes and see if they're on board with what he's saying. I think you could agree that Cantwell was buying into it. He was all over the place. And he'll come good. He's still learning, I think. And the same with Raskin, I just get that feeling they're playing for him. But when you look into the other folks' eyes, like say Kent and Morelos, they must be telling them one thing, but they're conning them. And that's a negative sign. He doesn't see the people that's kind of conning him, if you know what I mean. Because he's always sticking up for, like, say, Morelos, trains like a machine, him and Kent and all that. But for me, I just don't see it. As soon as I seen the team on Sunday, I was disappointed. I mean, here's a thing for you, and you could ask the panel this. Would any experienced manager that you could think of, a Walter Smith, a Jim McLean going back a few years, and Alex Ferguson, would have stuck by these two players who've done nothing for the past 18 months, say, or whatever, a year, really stuck by them in these two games? Do you think they would have stuck by them? I didn't think so. I think certain things would have happened.
Do you want a yes or a no answer? Do you want a statement?
Aye.
A quick yes and a no answer. I'll take it in the panel. Yes or no. Juicy?
Oh,
Yes
well,
or no,
no.
Juicy? Right. No difficult. Yes or no. Linda?
No.
Smurf?
No.
Bridge?
It's a no for me.
There you go, Stuart.
No, I mean, I think everybody's in the same boat. Another thing that he tends to stick to as well, and I noticed it more so in the semi-final. I mean, McGregor passing the ball to Goldson, I think he's passing it to Davis, he's passing it back and forward. I mean, you might get away with that 9 times out of 10, but look what Kent was trying to do, dribbling trying to take a man on, the last man type of thing. I would have took him off at that point. I would have said, this guy just doesn't know what he's doing. He's no interested. And passing out to Barisic, Barisic chips up the line. They're all waiting for it. They're seeing what's coming. It's so predictable, and that's the negative side of him. I don't know how he's going to overcome that, to be honest with you, because it seems to be part of his tactics. You know what I mean? It's just, I really get frustrated with him.
Right.
As one of the guys was saying, he's got an eye for a good player, and I would trust him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've got to stick by him, because I think most Rangers fans quite like him. I think with the new guy coming in, there might be some investment coming in that he could benefit from. But just finally, before it goes round the panel, he's looking at all these players, for like say Blackpool or Plymouth Argyle or Swansea and stuff like that. I just don't think you might get a gem out of one. If you get 5 of them, you might get a gem. But by that time, we're losing points in the league again. We need a wee bit.
Are you telling me that guys for teams like Ipswich Town and that aren't good enough to play for Rangers? Is that what you're telling me?
You might get the odd one. That's what I'm saying. That if you're getting 4 or 5 for the bottom leagues, they'll know I'll be good. You know what I mean? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. I don't think I mentioned Ipswich. I mentioned Plymouth Argyle and Swansea and stuff like that.
I mentioned Ipswich.
I know. You're trying to put words in my mouth, I think.
No,
you know what I mean. I think what I'm trying to say is, I think I would rather have 3 really top quality players and the rest that you could maybe bring on, nurture if you like. But we need some big sign-ins to get the fans. The fans are doing it now. Everybody's doing. We need a kind of half decent sign-in to kind of bring it back up again.
You're not going to get a Gascoigne or a Laudrup walking in the door.
No, I'm not meaning that. I'm just talking. I mean, there was a guy there. I think he's playing in Greece now. He looked quite promising. I was looking at all his stats. I can't remember his name. He's a kind of right winger type of boy, youngish type of boy as well. A lot of teams are after him. Somebody like that, I don't know. But again, settling into Glasgow, difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. But
especially when you're in the middle of the country, mate.
I know. But look, it's not a negative. I'm trying to remain positive. I think we should give the man a chance.
I'll take the positive round the. I'll take your positive point round the panel. Linda, what do you think he's there, Jill?
I don't know, it looks a bit like Grecian 2000 to me.
Well, we should have a shave. There you go. Don't get me started. Anyway,
you can't shave though with that mole. You can't have a shave in case he whacks it off. You can't. You just be careful with that.
Listen, Michael Beale, he's come in at a difficult time. He's learning on the job. He's no managed. Let's be honest. He's not even managed 50 games of football. You know, he's been involved, in a long number of years. These are the facts. It could turn out to be. I don't know if we can use Gerrard or we can use Souness as an example, but it could turn out to be the next Walter Smith, because Walter hadn't managed when he got the job, had he?
No, I know.
Linda, that's Stuart. Just wait, mate.
Yeah. I know, Ox, and obviously when Walter took over the first time, we had a bit of success on when Graham had come in.
Different times, Linda.
Different times. It's a different ball game altogether. The way that dealing with players as well now. They hold even more cards, as you've always said as well. They hold all the cards now. But I do think that obviously he's been involved in a lot of coaching. Tactically, he seemed to, as we said before, that he seemed to be, behind Gerrard as well. Gerrard had he came in with a big reputation and everybody loved it when he walked through the door because of what we had previous to Gerrard. He didn't have a lot to beat at that point, did he, Ox, in terms of reputation, kudos or anything? When Gerrard came, we just thought, oh my, we've got somebody. It has been a difficult time for Michael Beale, and I think we've obviously got to give him a chance. But see this thing about going to the lower divisions in England, if you could pick up a couple of gems, fair enough. But you'd like to think that we're casting the net a wee bit wider. I know, as we said earlier, every signing can be a risk, but you'd like to think we're going to some of the markets on the continent and looking for maybe some good players there. But we'll just need to wait and see, Ox.
We need some Scottish players in the door. Just say in you come, mate. Sorry about that.
Well, the homegrown point goes back to what you were saying earlier with regards to what is there from the B team and the youth teams to actually bring in. British-based players are what you need in European competition to pad out the club. I think we're really lacking in that now. It's really clear to see. So we need to kind of have a rebuild there. That might take a couple of seasons, but the fact that so few players have been coming into the first team lineup is a worry, isn't it? And you're putting players in for the sake of it who may not be playing, but with the injuries that we've had, you might need these guys at some point. And we've got to be bringing in some quality. They don't want to just be sitting there making up the numbers. Just another thing to worry about.
Hi, Ox, can I come in there?
Nice, more fun you go, mate.
I've been thinking about that as well. That it's kind of a dual point. There's a change this season with John Lundstrom. Last year he was breaking the lines. He was having he was getting the odd goal, and he was impacting the game. This year he's not doing that. And as you alluded to earlier at the beginning of the show, the passing it out, maybe that's instruction, and it's not doing the guy any favours. But if it's no instruction and he's just, his shelf life's gone, I'd like to see that boy Leon King playing in that position. I think he can play as a holding midfielder, and he's pacey, a lot of potential, and he's got a wee bit of experience now under his belt. And I just think for these last few games that are left, I'd like to see that boy getting a run. And in a position other than centre half, because I don't think he is a centre half myself. What do you think of that?
I don't disagree with that, mate. I don't disagree with that at all. I would take you in one point of what you said. I think John Lundstrom in Europe was excellent for us. I don't know how good he was apart from maybe the semi-final domestically. He's never really. He was excellent for us in Europe, and he's never really set the head on fire domestically. He had a run when he first came. He got about 3 man of the matches, and he looked as if up, and then he disappeared, and Gerrard dropped him. And when he came back in the team, when Gio, he kicked on, but particularly in Europe, it's bizarre that his level, and if you look at his level of performance and a year ago in some of the European ties, and you look at his level of performance now, it's just bizarre, Linda.
Yeah, absolutely, Ox. It's as if he's fallen off a cliff. I don't know if is it the position that he's been asked to play. I'm not really sure. There was a couple of times at the weekend he seemed to burst forward with the ball, and we've not really seen him doing that for a long time. But the problem was when he did run forward with the ball, our forwards weren't really making any runs for him. I don't know, Ox. It would be interesting to know what his thoughts were in terms of his own form. He's never going to be asked that. But I don't know what the difference is in terms of even bringing some of that European form to the domestic games. But I don't know. It's very much it's really quite a conundrum, Ox, isn't it?
If you ask me a question, Linda, if we could get better than John Lundstrom consistently, we could. Would have part ways with John Lundstrom, let him go and further his career somewhere else. I wouldn't be unhappy.
Agreed.
Bridge, before we go to a tune, Bridge.
I was just going to say, I thought Lundstrom had one of his better games at the weekend. However,
there must be a distance, Bridge.
No, but however, we do know he lacks a bit of pace. I don't know whether he's still got it there. I don't know what his engine's like really now, because he flatters does receive so many times. But I thought he had quite a good performance on Sunday, and he started to take his man on. He started to throw a bit of weight about, and I was quite happy with that because he became, for me anyway, he became the man that kind of stopped him in their tracks a lot, and I liked that. That's not to say he was the best player in the park by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he played a very good game. At this point in time, and I'm only going by this point in time, I wouldn't like to lose that John Lundstrom that's playing for us. I wouldn't like to lose that. No, for nothing anyway,
He's got a year left of his contract.
Yeah, so I just wouldn't like him to get rid of him. I'd like him to, if he can show up the same aptitude going forward for the rest of this season, he'll be a good help to us.
I'll tell you what, it's only my opinion, Juicy. If he stays with the club another year, he'll be next year's Kent and Alfie.
He'll be gone this summer, mate.
This summer? You said this summer, Juicy?
He'll be gone this summer, mate.
Yeah, okay. Be interesting. It's going to be a busy summer, Linda.
Yeah, definitely, Ox. Possibly, I agree. He could be away. Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll get ourselves have a tune, and then we'll hear from you. I think Stuart's always, yeah. So get yourself some.
Great stuff.
They both met in the early days. They had more in common in many ways. They both went down to the local town hall. They both loved music and they loved football. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both feel proud. A Rangers woman is a Rangers man, will always be a Glasgow Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk. They both played in the local pipe band, and then where their kilts had the Ibrox stand. They love to dance and they love to sing. When Rangers scored, they do the Highland fling. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both feel proud. A Rangers woman, he's a Rangers man, will always be a Glasgow Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk. Walk the walk, talk the talk, they'll still be there when the going gets cut. Rangers want to marry at the Ibrox ground, with 40,000 fans all standing around. When they marry, they might move away, but they'll always be back on a Saturday. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both feel proud. A Rangers woman, he's a Rangers man, will always be like a Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both feel proud. A Rangers woman, he's a Rangers man, will always be like a Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Right, some interesting points here. Aye, Stuart, we've got ourselves in a bit of a pickle. We've just got to get the people that we appoint and the people we select and the players we bring in. They've got to be right. You're not going to get all of them right, but our success rate's got to improve.
No. But I think that's one of the positives I said earlier. Bill says he likes to sit in front of them, look into their eyes and say, do you want to play for Rangers? And I think that's a real positive that he's got there. He did it with Cantwell. You can see Cantwell's attitude. It's really good. If they all could get that attitude, we would have won that game. Like Kent and Morella should be ashamed of themselves at times. And Raskin, I think he's carrying a wee bit of an injury, but I think he's going to come good. Here's a wee question for you. I want to talk about Lundstrom there, about he's got a year to go in his contract. Now, I think he's on record as saying he would like to stay at Rangers, right? I mean, would he earn more money down south? Possibly. If somebody would take him, maybe his old club. But here's the question. I would maybe give him another year. I mean, here's the question. Would you rather have Lundstrom or Jack going forward? If you were to pick one of the two, what one would you pick? I would take Lundstrom.
What about Victor?
Who? I never heard that one.
When you have Jack in the team, you've got to have Victor, haven't you, Linda?
Jack and Victor.
I think, I'll be honest with you, I think as much as I preferred Ryan Jack's Rangers career to John Lundstrom, even though he gave us one of the best nights of my life when he got that goal against Leipzig. We'll never forget it. But I've got to be honest with you, I think the ship sailed for Ryan Jack in his Rangers career. Injuries have blighted it. We could debate that all day long. There's no value for money in Ryan Jack going forward because he's never fit, Linda. And John Lundstrom another year? No for me.
No, with Ryan Jack, if he's fully fit and firing, he's one of the best players at the club. But that's the problem. I think you'd said, was it under 50% of the games he's
was
played?
One of the best players at the club.
Was yes. I think he's only been available for a bit. What is it? Just less than 50% of the games that he should have been available for Ox. The only thing about Ryan Jack, and I've heard people talk about this, I know we've mentioned this homegrown rule, that's one of the reasons why they might give him, but the deal would need to reflect his availability. He might not accept that, Jack, right enough. You know, he might not want a contract like that. But I think that's a massive risk in terms of giving him a deal. With John Lundstrom, I just think it would be better for John to move on, you know, and if we can get some sort of fee in from all the better, because his contribution this year and probably part of last year domestically, we must be able to get better than that.
I agree.
This is Ryan Jack's sixth season at the club. He started 98 league games.
That's a shocker.
Pretty
Yeah.
poor.
It's gone, mate. As much as I like Ryan Jack, he's been excellent for us with big games, and he gives you everything he's got. And he was good in some big games for us, like the rest of them. The ship sailed. Tuesday.
No, you mind the...
Let me bring the boys in. Tuesday then.
It's all right.
No, it's all right, Stuart. We'll come back to you, mate.
Okay.
Tuesday.
Well, Ox, there's only 4 players from the starting 11 at the weekend that I'd keep, and I know Jack wasn't in there, but he has shown a little bit more in the games where he's been available recently. But as you said, Ox, his availability is awful. So he needs to move on as well, because he's the midfield version of Kamar Roof.
Yeah. Bridgman. And you come, Stuart.
I was just saying, in a midfield version of Kamar Roof is a bit brilliant. It's just a bit right. I can't say any more than that. He's going to be permanently injured for us State Rangers. That's what I say.
You've seen it in the past. I'm trying to think of a few names. I'll go back to, like, say, Nigel Sparkman. I mean, he was never the fastest player, but you just seen him dying. He virtually died within a couple of games. He just lost his legs. And I think that's happened to Jack in a way as well. I don't know if it's his injuries, and Lundstrom's the same.
Nigel Sparkman would have stayed with us if it wasn't for the 3 foreigners rule, mate. I
know, but I'm just saying that the night he died sort of thing, there's probably been a few players like that over the years. I can't think of any offhand right now. But some folk gradually get bad, but some folk just kind of die, like, say, Lundstrom. I mean, as Linda said, he's not done anything for domestically. So if he did go, it wouldn't worry me if you got some money for him. But if he didn't go, it could be a kind of squaddy type player to come on. No ideal, it's not what I'd want. But what you can do is just fill up a team for you guys for English First Division and hope that they all gel. It's not going to happen. You need somebody with a wee bit of knowledge and a wee bit of experience there to kind of bring it together. It's a difficult thing for him. You know, it really is. It's not like the Advocat years when he was bringing in Ronald De Boers and Michael Moles and all these type of guys. I was going to say Bert Conterman there, but I'll not bother. You know, all these kind of guys. Although Bert Conterman would do a job, I suppose. But it's a difficult time for us, I think, and it all depends on what money is available. That's the thing that we're all kind of forgetting. You've got this new director coming in. You don't know what he's got up his sleeve. He's talking in the internet today that it's got to be big changes and all that. It's all great stuff to hear him talk. So, although it's a depressing time, I think it's also an exciting time. I think there's a kind of airy trepidation, if you want to call it that, for want of a better word. I were all disappointed, but I'm still, we're all Rangers fans, we're all still remaining positive, and you've got to be like that. As Bridge says, you've got to have this attitude. We're Rangers and we're going to be positive, so didn't feel too bad about it. I think over the piece, I think he'll get it right, and he's got to learn quickly. Like Walter had to learn quickly, but Walter had the benefit of Fergie or Asunas or that coming through. Okay, Beale's been with Gerrard, but Gerrard was a rookie manager too. So I don't think it's all negative. We're all doing for what happened on Sunday. But Beale couldn't control that. I mean, guys just switched off. I mean, you can't legislate for that.
No,
you know?
No, I don't blame him for the goal.
But you know what I would have liked, Ox? This is what I would have liked to have done. Everybody's got their own ideas. But he wasted the last 5 minutes to try and make the big push. He should have done it 15 minutes because they were sitting back, had on to that lead. He should have, I don't know, put Goldson up front. I think one of you said that, and just kind of lumped that ball in, because when the ball's coming down, I had a glance of this. I was watching something the other night. It was the Lovencrans final. The ball got punted up. 2 Celtic players went for it. It broke to Lovencrans. The wee touch to the side, bang, into the net. You're picking up scraps, and that's you sometimes need to play it ugly like that. And I think you could do that for 15 minutes. That would have caught them off guard. bit of Goldson up front, if you like, and take that chance. We're getting beat, and they've had none. They're playing out of their hands. You know what I mean?
You might as well get beat 2-0 as 1-0. I just want to let you know something. Nigel Stackman was raised for 2.5 seasons.
Aye.
Yeah. And he started 100 league games.
Aye.
And Ryan Jackson started that in 6 seasons.
No, I'm no meaning that. What I'm saying is, you could see Sparkman when he came in, he wasn't too bad, but I can't mind, there was a point in time where he just seemed to die. He lost his legs, and Jack's a bit like that as well.
The last season he was raised, he played 42 out of 44 league games, and he captained. He captained to Walter's first trophy, and then he left. He left the following September, played 2 games and left because of the 3 foreigners rule. Which with Nigel Spackman now, I don't think John Lundstrom could place his boots.
No,
but we're in. It's going to be interesting, Bridgeman, isn't it? We're in a real interesting time, and it's going to be exciting. We're going to see fresh players coming in, and hopefully they can live up to the hype.
Oh goodness, that would be fantastic if they could just step in the door and they're ready-made, shall we say, or oven ready. Well, it'd be fabulous. I put all my trust is in Vale at the moment, and he sees the tangle that's going on in our team and with our team, and he sees that there are certain teams again that play in the Scottish League who won't lie down to us in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they think they've got us in a week time, and in all probability they have, and we may end up losing some more games this season, which I think we should never do. We should never be able to lose as many games as that we have done at the moment. And goodness sake, we've still got a seriously big game on Sunday, and then another one the following week. So we shouldn't be losing any games. Our manager's got choices to make, and I hope he brings in the right people. I really do, and I'm sure that all of us should. I've
got a bit of sympathy for him, Mr. Newlander. He ain't got a lot of options, is he? I mean, it wouldn't matter if somebody said, I think last night, it wouldn't matter if it was Pep. He's not got a lot of options, has he?
No. I mean, he didn't have a lot of options for Sunday as well, and
no.
You know, we can criticise him all we like about, like particularly playing Ryan Kent, who had been out injured, and then he maybe did have options that he could have thrown the boy Matondo in, perhaps started Sakala, but Sakala come on and had a nightmare anyway. He didn't have a lot of choice to play the centre forward role, Tillman maybe, but he ended up going off injured anyway. You do have sympathy for him going forward too, because he's got a lot of pressure. He's got to bring these players in, and hopefully he'll get as many, but it's still got to be the right ones, no panic buys. But we've got the qualifiers for the Champions League come round fairly quickly, Ox, haven't we? That's going to be a big pressure for him as well, because the club want that. I mean, I don't know. You can think about the Champions League, and you know, it wasn't a very pleasant experience. We were all desperate to get there, but it wasn't any fun at all. But from a club's perspective, that's going to be important for him as well. So he's going to have to get players in early, try and get them settled to the extent that they can do a job for us quickly. So it is a lot of pressure on him, Ox. But I'm like you. I'm looking forward to seeing fresh faces, because let's hope we don't have to go through an overhaul like this again in the near future, because this whole situation can't be allowed to happen again.
We took a gamble, Juicy. It was like the last dance, wasn't it? Alan McGregor, Stephen Davis, Scotty Arfield. We rolled the dice. Important for us. We kept players when we should have maybe let them go because they were fans' favourites, and I include Kent Morelos in that, you know, if the offers that we read in the media were true, and ultimately it's come back and bite us, isn't it? You've got to be ruthless.
Sentimental FC, mate. That's what we've become. And one thing I've said for a long time about Kent Morelos is they've been with this club for a long time. So regardless whether this was the last year of their deal, and even if they'd been playing really well, which they haven't been, but if they had been, I'd still have no qualms about them leaving, because no one could say that they hadn't been with this club for a lengthy amount of time. But the fact that they're poorly, makes it even more important that they go. And other players that you mentioned there as well. I don't think McGregor's had a terrible season in goal. He still had his moments though, but I suppose in fairness, all keepers do. Davis caused a terrible injury. His career is probably done, not just his time at Rangers. But we've held on to so many of these players for too long. Arfield, perhaps the only one who I think's been a bit unlucky with his game time, because he's always been to me a good super sub who's capable of adding something from an attacking sense to matches. But I don't think anyone would be too fussed if he left either in the summer. He's put the service in. We need a big refresh, and we can't be holding on to any of these players because of their past ventures and in most cases positive contributions that they've made.
Okay. All right. I'll put it out to the listeners. Right. I'll put it out to the listeners, Linda. What players would you keep? What players would you keep? Let's hear from you. 0141.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show. It's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Oh, can I ask a question? I've got to go in a couple of minutes. I just want to leave a final point for you to kind of ponder. Is it okay? Aye. I mean, we've not got a director of football. I mean, I still think we need one. I really do. And I think Beale should be involved in it as well. You can't have this big sort of wall between them that they didn't get on or they didn't talk. These two people have got to be really close. And I think it could make a difference. Okay, Beale would have to be involved, look into their eyes and all that, and this person would go and get them. But I think if you had a really close relationship with these two, it'd make recruitment a lot better and take a bit of pressure off thing with Beale sort of thing.
So you've got to be really close. Let's just imagine the scene. Let's take it away from football. If you had, say, just for argument's sake, I know this would never happen. You would have a first minister of a country and the CEO. They were really close, and that worked well, didn't
it? Aye. You've also forgetting the landscape gardener who buried all the stuff into the garden. You know what I mean? We couldn't find anything. You know what I mean? We're actually in the pot plants.
I'll get a yes or a no answer after the panel. Do we need a director of football? Yes or no? Bridgeman?
No, I would say a yes, the way things are.
Linda?
Yes.
Juicy?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a great believer in democracy. Stuart?
Probably Graham Souness has left Sky. What do you think the chances are?
Is he 70 years of age?
I don't know. I don't care what age he is, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Is he retiring altogether? Is he? I don't know. I just heard it. I don't know.
Well,
he would do the trick for me, I'll tell you. He would do the trick for me.
He came into your club, 37 years ago?
Aye.
What was he, 33, 34 then? Something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I left you with that thought, so I'll wait to go, lads. Nice speaking to you all again.
Yeah, Stuart. Great call, mate. Great call.
All I would say is keep positive. We're Rangers, and you know what? Everybody goes through a wee blip like this. We've kind of had a wee couple of blips before, and we'll come out it. And I trust in Beale. I really do. I like the guy, and hopefully he can get a good director of football in, and they make a good team. And I hear what you say about the certain ministers and all that kind of thing. But we're Rangers. Let's hope it works out all right in the end. Right. Anyway, guys, nice speaking to you all. Speak to you later. Cheers.
Hey, Stuart.
Bye.
Donnie, I'll be interested to get your rationale on that. I'll go to Juicy first, then Linda. Why do we need a director of football? What's it done to us since I've been there the tour, and what have they achieved?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that a director of football that comes in after them won't do a good job, Ox. We're just looking at a period of time where things haven't gone too well for the club as a whole, and director of football isn't the only position where you could question the effectiveness of the post, is it? Director of football is a position that exists at a lot of clubs now. Is it needed? Is it not needed? Well, I suppose if it wasn't needed, then it wouldn't exist in those other clubs. They're there to take certain work away from what was previously under the manager, certain administrative tasks, and the such. But yeah, we are well aware that a lot of the signings that have come into this club haven't been great over the last few years, Ox.
I'm not blaming the director of football for that. I'm just asking why we need a director of football. Wonder.
I think it would also depend on what that person's role is. If what we're led to believe the director of football post that Ross Wilson had oversaw everything that was going on in terms to do with the football Ox, you know, to join up all the dots. So if that's the case, then I think we do need an overarching person to do that. But you could argue that perhaps that could be diluted so that you've just got individual heads of each department. What I would like is that if Ross Wilson was as involved in all these signings as we're led to believe he was, then that can't continue. The manager must have more involvement in that. But if you've got somebody that has to oversee everything, I think that post is quite important.
I got a text from Albert. I'd love to read it out, but I wouldn't be allowed.
He doesn't want that.
Brilliant. Bridgeman, why?
Well, I think you just look at our manager at the moment, and I think some of the things that's wrong with our manager is through shall we say, he thinks he's doing well, and he thinks he could carry on with it. My thoughts are, I don't think he's quite a coach or a manager yet. You know what I mean? He's still got a bit to go on that side. And I think if we're going to be a big club, we need to have big positions. We need to fill them properly and get the best out of them. I'm not saying that Ross Wilson was the best person in the whole world, but he was doing the job, whatever that job was. It needs to get a better link between any new football director, or whatever I want to call him, and the manager. And they should be working as a team on most of these decisions, whatever the decisions are. I do believe sincerely that we should have someone in that position. I really do.
Mm-hmm. All right. I get the rationale. Right, come and join us, give your thoughts. What players would you keep? I mean, it's a tough thing. Who wants to go first? Linda.
Out of the current squad, I think the obvious ones for me would be the 2 January signings. That obviously Raskin and Cantwell. And the other 2 that I probably would
You're
keep,
taking the P with that answer. I'm not giving you that one. You're not getting them. They're givens.
right. I was just starting with them.
I'll rephrase it. For anybody that's been there longer than 6 months, what players would you keep? There you go. How's that?
Tavernier and Golson.
Tavernier Golson. All right. Is that it?
Everybody else is up for grabs.
Juicy Bear.
It's really difficult to follow on from Linda. I wish I'd gone first now. That was also my answer. Just trying to expand upon that a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting, Ox.
Mm-hmm.
Given the outlay in terms of what we've spent, I think Yilmaz, Lawrence, and Matondo should be given a pre-season, not least to prove their fitness.
Big Cholak.
Cholak, well, he wasn't as expensive as those 3, so it's not going to be quite as much of a loss if we were to move him on. But again, his injuries have not been so good in recent months. So yeah, stick him to it as well. So those 4. But the outlay for Matondo and Yilmaz in particular expensive, and they've not had the game time. In particular, Yilmaz, he's just not been able to move Barisic, who's had a reasonable season, but certainly not his best. But these are young players as well, Ox. So I don't think there's an immediate rush to just sell them in the summer. Depends if someone comes in with a good offer, but you don't see any reason why they would when they haven't had the game time. These guys could still be assets, but I've said in the past that I think Matondo could go in the summer, and he could still well do that because, you know, is he going to be in the manager's plans? But if Kent's going, maybe there will be an opportunity from at least give them a pre-season and then sell them during the window if it doesn't appear that they're working out to what the manager's looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bridgman.
Well, I think personally, I think based on what I've seen up to now, I think I would keep Lundstrom. And I think I would, if we had the money, I think I would keep Tillman. Other than that, the rest of them can go. As far as I'm concerned, the rest of them can go. Every one of them. If we've got the money to replace them, they can go. I haven't seen anyone who I think is could be a real top quality Rangers player. They're taking away Raskin and what's his name, Todd Cantwell. Leave them in. But I don't see anybody else. It's actually dead. Cholak I wouldn't keep. I don't think he's done anything for us, in all honesty. And obviously the two that have sinned against us, they need to go. Morelos and Kent. Fashion, I think Fashion can go as well. Just be told. So I wouldn't keep any of them. Other than what I've said. But maybe five.
Big John Sewer.
Actually, no, I wouldn't keep him at all. I'm not keen on him. I never was keen on him. I'm not saying he's done really bad for us, but you're getting to a point now where he's been with us a full season, just about. What's he done? He's not done anything for us, really. He's headed a few balls, and that's all he's done.
He's a hard man, Linda, isn't he?
I mean, they're obviously not all going to go, although maybe they will. I think he mentioned he was, asked about it at the presser, wasn't he, Ox? And he said, I think as many as a dozen in, a dozen out. But I don't know, sometimes Michael Beale says things and then it doesn't turn out to be the case later on. When he's pressed for questions like that, it's awful difficult though when you've just been beaten and you're disappointed and all anybody wants to talk about is what players are you getting out the door. It's quite hard on him. His team's just been beaten. So that was a difficult one. But I think there's certain players that you would maybe give another chance to. I mean, somebody like Cholak, when he came to the club, he was actually the one kind of shining light at the beginning of the season. I think was it 15 goals in his first, I don't know how many games, 15 and maybe 18 or something, 19 games.
He was a shining light. If he'd have done a player of the season the first 3 months, he'd have won it by a distance, wouldn't he?
Aye, absolutely. And I know he was. There was some doubts about whether he could play in certain games. We might have needed something different, but that would have been all right if you'd had a fit and firing Alfie, because they would have been able to come in at different times and do different roles for us. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got to be able to, have different tactics for different games. But unfortunately, we didn't have that because Alfie was nowhere near fit for the first part of the season. He still isn't fit. We know that. So Cholak, you might give another because the guy can finish. But as you said earlier, it's whether or not he's going to fit into how Michael Beale wants to play. But surely to goodness, you've got to be able to play different ways. So he's probably one that I wouldn't, if he stays and we give him another chance, that's absolutely fine. And John Suter maybe is, we've not seen anywhere near enough of him either because of the injury situation. But I tell you something, Ox, if somebody came in and offered something for John Souttar because of his injury record, you might decide to take the money. But big decisions to be made.
Aye, we can't get rid of everybody, you know, and I'll be absolutely gutted, Juicy, gutted, if the reports in the paper the day are true that Scott Wright's leaving us.
He's a well-kept man, Ox. A
Yeah,
well-kept man.
the team photo will never be the same. You know, there's a guy who's brought him in. He's basically quadrupled his wages. We need to be sensible when we bring them in. You know, we need to be sensible when we bring guys in. By the way, if anybody wants to, somebody mentioned Jack Simpson. I think last week I seen a bit of Cardiff's highlights. Watched their highlights for the weekend. You'll be glad we never sent Jack Simpson. I've kept him.
I've kept him.
Oh, dear, dear.
Oh, goodness.
He makes our defence look good. His defenders look good. Right, okay. Tom Lawrence, is he getting a free pass? Or is he one of these guys, just say that he's no playing and you think he becomes a better player in the fans' eyes because he's no been playing?
Well, it was such a long time ago that it was available. It's inconsequential, the fact that he was half decent because he's been injured for so long. There's clearly something wrong with his progress because he appeared to have come back into training too soon because he then got injured again very promptly. I mean, if he comes back fully fit in the summer, it is a brand new player, brand new signing because half a dozen games he played would have been a year ago by the point that we come to the new season. But is he going to get in the team now? Will he get in ahead of Hadji and Cantwell, etc.? That's if Hadji stays. I think, as I said earlier, you've got to at least look at him in the summer and see if he's fit and if he's hungry. If not, there'll be plenty of opportunity to sell him in the window. I think they're all, as Linda said, they're all up for grabs in terms of their future, other than the four that Linda mentioned at the start. The rest are totally on the table based on how they do in pre-season, if they're even fit in pre-season.
I'll tell you what, young Hadji, he might not be matched for it, but he's definitely subtle. Did you see him coming on the park? Did you see him, Linda?
No.
You know, see his stretches just before he came on. Very, very impressive.
with the more like yoga stretches.
Aye. You know, I've heard that in feedback that the boys put some work in, you know. He's been a credit to himself. Obviously, he's still got the passion for the game. You know. Yeah, I can take a bit of it. Old school boys then. Right, okay. What a muddle we're in. Bridgeman. You know, it's hard to believe. It's less than a year, just since we qualified for a European final. Huh?
Well, I think our luck turned badly when we lost. Jeff. Oh my God, I can't remember his name now. I forgot. Who was I went to? Ibrox to see again.
Gerrard.
I think we started to go downhill a bit, and we haven't stopped going. I hope this manager manages to pull them up and get us back on a level keel again. And to me, it doesn't really matter because our players are such poor performers at times. It wouldn't matter how many they let go and just bring in people and see how we go on. It's better than Bertrand Reed off a brick wall constantly, and we're gnashing and wailing the teeth because of what's happening to us. And I don't know how we're going to get over it. I don't know. I wish I could wave a magic wand and everything would become better. And I'm sure there are many Rangers fans feel the same way. And sometimes when you look at our team playing the football, you wonder how on earth they managed to get a game of football for any team. Some of the street teams we played in, these people wouldn't have got a game. You wouldn't have got picked. You know, we used to say, I'll take him. You would never have taken any of our players away to play. So that's how bad we feel about ourselves, and quite rightly too. And there's guys in our team promising. Hadji was full of promise. Unfortunately, he's been out for 2 years. Hellander out for 2 years. So these guys are never going to come back to Rangers, in my opinion. Probably never get back in again. And should look after himself and go to get the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. It's strange. It's strange. We qualified for that final and how it's unravelled in front of us. And is it confidence, tactics, personnel, lack of competition for places? Is it all these things, Linda?
I think you're right, Ox. I think the lack of competition for places has been glaring because the amount of people that were out injured as well. When you think about at the beginning of the season, players that we'd actually brought in as the summer signings, Suter, Davies, Lawrence, all picked up injuries. And then obviously under Gio, there was times where he didn't even have a fit centre back. When Golson was injured too. So very, very difficult situation for him. A lot of it was the writing was on the wall domestically for Gio last season when we failed to win a lot of these games, particularly away from home. We weren't playing very good football at times domestically as well. And I think the European run kind of maybe camouflaged that a wee bit, Ox. I think we've spoken about that before. And then it just went from bad to worse. We probably waited too long to actually, sack Gio, I think. But because he had taken us to that final, I think he got a lot more leeway than probably other managers would, albeit Steven Gerrard got a bit of leeway too, didn't he? So I think that it's been a combination of a lot of things that have gone wrong. And see the players that we were left with, particularly in the midfield and forward. We had players that had performed okay for us before. They were just totally off the boil, Ox.
It's a hard thing to put your finger on because, a year ago we blitzed that Leipzig at Ibrox 3-1, qualified for a final. 2 goals for Tav and one for Tav, was it? And Glenn Kamara scores and John Lundstrom scores, yeah? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Tav got the goal right in the first start, wasn't it? It was Tav, wasn't it? Or was it Roof? Kemar Roof, wasn't it? Was it Roof?
No, I think it was Tav. It was Tav, wasn't it?
Right at the start. No, Roof was injured by then, wasn't it? He was against Red Star, wasn't it? He got the goals, wasn't it? I was mixed up. Yeah, that was fleeting appearances of Kemar Roof. I've never known a time like it. Bridge, in my short time on this earth, as but I've never known a time like it.
Yes, as far as our club's concerned, it's been probably.
I've known worse times, Bridge. 5 years ago when we get beaten in the semi-final 4-0 by them.
Oh yes, there's been some terrible results for us and things like that. No, undoubtedly, but we've got a team that's full of promise. As I said earlier, full of promise. The last 2 seasons. My goodness, the last 3 seasons we win a league. You know what I mean? So we win a league and we win a cup. And now we're getting nothing. We're getting absolutely nothing. So we've gone through a great high, a great run in Europe, won the Scottish Cup. And now this season we're floundering. And I mean that sincerely, floundering. We would be saying we will scoosh after the split, all the games, 5 games after the split, we should scoosh them, no matter what it is. We should scoosh them. I would say that, still say that we should. My heart tells me different. I just don't see it happening to us. Nothing would surprise me the way they've been playing, and to pick these players up after that disaster on Sunday. It's a monumental task for the manager. That blunder that they made, and it's like the time stopped for them. It's just like time stopping, and that guy just ran right round some of your players, and they put a beautiful ball into the net, into the box, and there wasn't one player near the ball. And it was just like watching a bad movie, and it was all happening in slow motion, and the horror in my eyes when I seen it. And that guy just wandered, and thank you very much. lovely wee nod in. By the way, may I say, it was a fantastic goal for them to do that. And that's seven or eight Rangers players out of the game on the net. Unbelievable stuff. That's what happened to us. How we're going to get out of that, I don't know. We should be having nightmares for years.
Aye, it's honestly, Linda, I've never known a melee like it to happen. That you get players injured, you get that many players injured, you get that many guys out of form, you get that many guys coming to the end of the contract. I think it's good that you've got guys coming to the end of the contract and you move on, you refresh, and you've got that wages. But no, these guys have been big players for us all at the same time. We've got it wrong, and we have to accept that.
Yeah. And I think, you have to sort of, refresh your squad more regularly going forward as well. When you think about Morelos and Kent, they were probably at their optimum in terms of their transfer value after we won 55 Ox. That's just my opinion, right?
Might have been before that.
It might have been just before that. But see at the start of the following season, Gerrard made it clear in no uncertain terms that he didn't want them to be sold. It was absolutely clear. And then after a few months, he's away to another job, and I know things like that happen. But there's a possibility that they might have perhaps been moved on then. But we were just coming out of a pandemic as well. There wasn't a lot of money being spent either. Clubs were just trying to get back on their feet. So there's been a combination of factors around that. But we still should have moved players on, and we haven't. I think that can't happen again. You've got to address that situation. But I don't think you can legislate for the injuries either, although, as you said earlier, they'll need to be critiquing all that too, to see if there's anything that can be done better. But I think sometimes the players hold the cards with that as well, Ox. They're the ones that will say that perhaps they're not fit. And I'm not casting aspersions in anybody's direction. I just think sometimes, maybe the durability, some of our players that we've signed, it hasn't been what it should be. But it's a difficult one.
I'm going to admire you, Linda, the way you picked your words there. You're very polite.
Thanks, Ox.
If people only knew what you really said after.
Don't tell anybody.
Oh, toilet mouthy call up, Juicy.
Oh my goodness me! No, she's always been delightful to me. But what she's like when Juicy's not around, I couldn't comment.
There's two Lindas. That Prosecco's got a lot to answer for. Juicy, she made some great points there, but it can't be allowed to happen again. We've got to learn for this. There's got to be some stability at the club. There's got to be somebody driving, constant. The personnel's changed dramatically. Dave King, Stephen Gerrard, and now we'll get John Bennett and Douglas Parks left. Obviously, Ross Wilson's away and Craig Mulholland's away. The whole coaching stuff. The medical team changed when Gerrard walked in the door. It's not far away for 18 months since he walked in the door. And maybe the learning curve is you don't have somebody that's so important to the whole project. Because maybe Stevie G was too important as a figurehead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he owned a lot of what happened, during his tenure in terms of changes and the figurehead that he was, and how he had influenced a lot of changes at the youth setup, etc., and obviously what he did for the first team. But Ox, I'm afraid, in the goldfish bowl that is Scottish football, in particular in Glasgow, with the old firm, if one team is doing well, the other one isn't. And for as long as we're all alive, that is how it will always be. Yeah. So you will always go round in these circles of one team doing well, whilst the other one may not necessarily be playing terrible, but if they're not winning the old firm matches and they're not winning the trophies, then that is not good enough in the eyes of the fans. And this is how it will always be. You just have to hope that your team is the one that's on top more often than not. And we've got to just get a level of consistency about us again. I feel like we're closer in the matches that we've played recently. The results haven't gone our way. Of course they haven't. But first of all, you've got to stop getting pumped. And we've stopped getting pumped. Then you've got to start getting tighter in the matches, but then you've got to start scoring goals. And we haven't done that final part yet. We're not scoring freely amongst our 4 players. It's only James Tavernier who's the person that's been getting those goals. So, it's not all terrible. We know that we're closer to them, but by the time Bill came in, the league was over anyway. So he's had a really hard start to his career as the manager, hasn't he? And that's why we've got to give him the summer to see how he does. But the very, very short running until that first Old Firm, and then knives really will be out if he's not performing. Football's a very, very fickle sport from the fan base, and in Glasgow you get very little time. An English Premiership manager will get much, much longer in terms of the time they'll get to achieve things. You don't get that up here.
I don't know if the interim one at Chelsea will get much longer, but that's another story.
They change them every week there.
Yeah. But aye, man. How do we learn from it, Linda? What's the big? If you'd one call, I mean, what has been the catalyst? Was there too much energy put in with so little players last season when that run to Europe, and we paid a heavy price for it? Was the tank empty for a lot of them?
I heard somebody saying as well that when you add up all the games, it was near enough. What's it, a third of a season extra when you think about all the minutes in the games, and like obviously other teams didn't have that. Other teams were put out of Europe in 3 different competitions in the one season, etc. That sort of thing. The European competitions. And we. As we all went along with it, and it was keeping us going. And I don't know, Ox, you might have, that might be a really good point that you make there. They've emptied the tank, and some of them should have gone. I think you're right. We basically gave contracts to some of them that we definitely shouldn't have. And the European run probably did take its toll on them. But then again, we just thought, God, they've got to a European final. They won the Scottish Cup. They're going to then kick on. I still think the Champions League knocked the stuffing out of a lot of them as well, Ox. I really do.
Here's a question for you, Bridge. See, if the terms lost the dressing room means the players maybe aren't getting it for the manager. The group of players collectively, can they turn it back on again? Because once you take the foot off the gas, it's not that easy to get it back on again, is it?
Very difficult. You're needing somebody in the dressing room to jemmy them up their seats and get up there and let's do it. And all the things that cajoled a John Brown type role, a Terry Butcher. Although Terry Butcher may have been a wee bit too severe in this type of time. But really, we need someone that's got the faith and the faith and respect from the rest of the players to do these type of jobs that a coach would do possibly, but he's management, it gets to that where there's a difference. And if you've got players that are very keen to be friendly with and don't let anybody down and let's all get in and be a team, you get that type of thing going in the dressing room, you're laughing. But see if you get that one where a guy's sitting in the corner and another guy's sitting in another corner and they don't care. They're hurt, don't speak to me and don't swear and so on and so forth. Nah, that's not good. Get them out. Not good.
It's a complex question with complex answers, Linda, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can't put your finger on it. If it was that simple, recruitment players, we did spend decent money on players last summer. Yeah, but it's failed. The players we brought in failed through a mixture of injuries and form. So the board will sit back and say, well, we gave the football department what they asked for.
Yeah, that's right. And I just think as well, because there's been a lack of trophies, right? It all boils down to that, because, you know, you look at over the last few, taking this season aside, the last few seasons, we've done terrific in Europe. So you can't criticise that group of players for what they've done in the European stage. But ironically and domestically, they just haven't done it for us. Because as everybody says, it's all about winning things. That's what we want. We want trophies. Well, you know, there's been barren spells before, I accept that. In our club, it's the same with any club. But it's just that there's only 2 teams in this country as well, and comparisons are always made, Ox. It's just something that'll always be there. And I think that's basically what hurts us most as well as fans, because we've gone another season where we haven't won anything, you know. But that Michael Beale definitely has to stop. He has to win something next year, and preferably the league. And he needs to challenge for the league in the first instance. But I would say that he needs to win it as well, Ox. And I don't want to heap the pressure on him right away, but he definitely does. I think that's a must for us next year.
The reason I don't think Michael Beale will get the time, just is because people don't see him as a new manager. They see him as somebody that's been there before.
True. Plus, he's a manager who's lost 3 Old Firm games and drawn 1. And with another Old Firm game to go, he'll be judged on that, regardless of the importance of the fixture in terms of the league. And then he'll be judged very quickly in the first Old Firm of next season. So a lot of fans were demanding that he won these 2 games here, and he's already lost the Scottish Cup one, and we've got now a dead rubber in a couple of weeks. The pressure is going to be massive going into next season, Ox. And he's a new manager, but you're right about him having that longevity as one of Stevie's assistants. So it's not like he's not familiar with the setup. He knew, unlike some managers coming into it, he knew exactly what to expect. So he knew the expectations, he knew the standards, and he was well aware of the pressure involved as well. So I give him a lot of credit because he wanted the job, but unlike some managers, he was well aware of what he's walking into. His time is going to be limited, as any Old Firm managers is, if you're not getting the results in those matches.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, we've reached that time of the evening. This is going to be a subject of these conversations. I think that's going to take up the majority of our time as things move on the next few weeks. But anyway, last word for your good self, Juicy Beth.
Oh, thanks ever so much for having me on tonight, Ox. It's been superb with your good self and my friends Bridge and the lovely Linda, who, as I said, always behaves magnificently when she's in my company.
She always behaves magnificently. I'll give you that. Yep. Linda.
Is that just on here? Yeah, great show, Ox. It's quite therapeutic when you get a chance to talk. You get a chance to talk with your pals and your fellow bears, and we're all hurting just now, but we've got to try and look forward. But I do agree with you, there's going to be some interesting conversations going forward. Lovely to be on with Juicy and Bridge and your good self. Yeah, enjoyed the show.
Therapeutic, Bridge. First time I've ever been called that.
I've been called a few names. Not quite as bad as that. Only kidding, not. Only kidding. No, therapeutic's not a bad word, actually, for sure. No, great show, Oxford. Once again, another fantastic one. Juicy and Linda, thank you very much for carrying me through it. And, of course, to the techie boys in the background. And to all the Rangers fans all over the world, and particularly Rangers fans on here on Rangers Radio, every one of us know we still are the people. So everybody keep it going for the Rangers. Forefront of your mind. Rangers, Rangers, Rangers. Keep it going.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Bridge. Thanks to Juicy. And thanks to Linda. Thanks to Stuart and Smurf who phoned in tonight. Good to hear from them. Thanks to Fox and All School Board for doing the technicals. And of course, the one and only Bridge for being in charge tonight. As always, we'll be back tomorrow night between 8 and 10, talking about all things Rangers. And it is Wednesday tomorrow. Take it away, All School Board.
See